Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Simon Mann, who is non-executive chairman at Hydrogen Utopia. How are you today, Simon?
Hi, yeah, good. Thank you.
Right, I'm not going to try and inject any humor into this interview other than to say, paraphrasing Mrs. Merton, what attracted you to this waste plastic to hydrogen company called Hydrogen Utopia?
Well, I think immediately the energy and determination of the CEO, Alexandria, definitely, who I'd met, but also, we're just all surrounded by this whole plastic thing going on. That's in the rivers, it's in the oceans, and everything else, and it's pretty horrible. And I thought that this is a really neat solution because it's circular and it gets rid of the plastic while at the same time providing a very good energy source.
So I suppose the point there is that we need plastic. We love using plastic. It has a great utility. If we can think of a way of, or we have a way of actually ensuring that it doesn't pollute our planet, it's a win. And then the result of disposing of plastic in a positive way, turning into hydrogen, obviously gives us a clean energy source. So it's everyone wins. Is that right?
Yeah, what's not to like? I mean, it really is a net zero. It's circular, and unlike, for example, lithium mining, which is the amount of mining that has to go on to produce lithium for one battery is substantial. Whereas this is just so neat that you're taking what's a waste product anyway, a particularly unpleasant and resilient one because it's not going to rot away, and you're turning that back into energy, usable energy. That's got to be right. That's got to be a good idea.
Might be a strange question, but is the waste plastic the most important thing, or is it actually hydrogen getting us off fossil fuels?
Or both. I mean, hydrogen is, I think, a really good fuel. That's fine. But to turn waste plastic, which is another massive problem, all of its own right, into that fuel is just very neat.
Okay, so obviously you're in the hot seat now. You've got an in tray which is probably already starting to fill up. What are going to be your first sort of goals and targets for the company?
Well, I think the first thing is to find out a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Always useful, and to get to know the people, obviously, and then to start going through the real issues. And obviously, I've already started to do that to a certain extent. And I think that what we're going to try and do is take a very more of a sniper approach, if you like, than a shotgun approach, and try and pick off some key targets to try and get a trial plant or a first plant actually built and up and running. Because I think once that happens, Utopia will take off.
Well, you brought in the military analogies. I'm not quite sure whether that was deliberate or otherwise, maybe a Freudian slip or something like that. But you obviously have been around the block in that context, and you're known for that. Presumably, your Rolodex is full of people, not only of the military area, but also many other areas as well, and maybe not only in Africa, but also around the world.
Well, it's a long time since I served in the British military, and I'm certainly not going to be running around the bushes anymore. Anyway, far too old for that. But I have been involved in a lot of different things in different parts of the world, and so my network is good, and it always has been. I was sort of born into a situation where just about everybody knew my dad, and a lot of people know me. So the networking side of it is good. As you know very well, just simply knowing people doesn't mean you're going to do successful business with them. So it's not just a question. I mean, the network can get you to the door, but will the door open? And I'm pretty good at opening doors. And if they don't open, we can sort of blow them down. Continuing with the military analogy, we have the explosive entry after all. So we're gonna rattle the doors and get in there and try and get one of these plants built, because that's always very difficult, isn't it? When you have a first of a kind, and you want to spend 40 million, that's a lot of money. And I've been in the mining industry and the oil and gas industry as well, and even they will not spend 40 million without some really deep research into, is this going to work? Is the oil and gas there? Is the diamond kimberlite actually the right grade? Are the numbers going to work? So that's quite hard. And maybe we have to build a model, or maybe we have to build a trial plant, which won't be big enough probably to make a profit. But we've got to be able to demonstrate what we're saying.
But isn't that the case? I mean, you mentioned $40 million. It's not necessarily that relevant exactly what the number is, but the reward for somebody building a successful plant is that they would have, all the world's plastic as potentially feedstock. They could produce massive amounts of hydrogen, which could be sold very, very well, given that the other electrolyzers and other things are much more expensive processes. So the risk reward here is actually massive for somebody who feels that they want to clean up the world and maybe make some money at the same time as well.
Sure, but risk reward, the reward is absolutely huge. But if you can't show that what you're trying to get people to do doesn't work, you've got to be able to show people pretty well. And you've also, I think what we've got to do is try and find people who perhaps, as you've pointed out, have another interest than the purely profit one. So, for example, an oil and gas company, the oil companies are hell-bent on increasing the amount of plastic, and that's happening now in the Gulf of Mexico, where there are massive plastic plants being built. And those same companies spend fortunes on greening themselves through advertising and what have you. Well, one of those companies could do a much better job by building one of these plants and demonstrating that they can get rid of the plastic in a good way as well as make it.
So it's not just a greenwashing thing. It's actually something which could actually help them on a practical basis. They can ramp up plastic production if they can say, actually, we've got a cure for plastic, and there'll be a bit of hydrogen on the side as well. So it'll be almost a pivoting into a different area, which is just not fossil fuels.
That's right. And it is circular as well, in the sense that, obviously plastics come from hydrocarbons, and we're taking the plastic and turning it back into the hydrogen that we can use. So it's very, very neat. And I would have thought would be a far better spend for a big oil company than trying to persuade everyone how cuddly they are.
Right.
When we know they're not.
Yes. And also, I suppose for them, a few tens of millions is not big in the scheme of things either. So maybe it's
I should think they probably spend what it would cost to build a plant on greening themselves through stupid adverts.
Right. And so you mentioned Alexandra Binkowska at the beginning of the interview. She's the young and thrusting CEO. Are you going to be going around with her on your campaigns to knock on doors and maybe get things going?
Knock them down. Yeah, well, Alexandria is pretty good at knocking things down. So, we will go around together, and we're going to try and put together a project to actually get one of these built as quickly as possible.
And is that going to be in Europe? Would that be in Europe? Is that the ideal location for something like that?
Well, I think they've tried that very hard, and I think have come up against quite a lot of resistance. And I actually don't know really whether we should be pushing against that resistance to overcome it, because I mean, obviously, with anything like this, you do get resistance. I mean, probably resistance from the lithium lobby, resistance from the oil and gas people, resistance from even some of the green people who become quite possessive about their bit of real estate. So there's going to be pushback, and I think Alexandria has already encountered that, and obviously together we're going to look at why, and maybe we can overcome it, or maybe look at other possibilities, such as the Gulf of Mexico or Turkey, even, where apparently my information is a lot of the plastic of Europe, a lot of the plastic waste ends up in Turkey. So I don't know what they're doing about it. So lots of ideas knocking around, lots of possibilities.
Well, we look forward to seeing those possibilities become realities. In the meantime, Simon Mann, non-executive chairman at Hydrogen Utopia, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks, Zach.